Hello everyone and welcome. I'm G, and you probably clicked on this video because you want to know how you can make hundreds of kills with Limbo. Now, as you all know, Limbo in Warframe is really not a DPS. He's not a main character that you take to do a lot of damage. He's more of a CC, crowd control kind of guy, or even a stealth missions or spy and anything like. So, how can you make Limbo kill a lot of enemies? Well, his abilities aren't really useful, but thanks to the helmith system, you can put Nova's Null Star in him. Now, I already had Null Star on him because it was one of the few abilities that still work while you're in the Rift. As you know, when Limbo's in the Rift, he can't touch anything, he can fire at anything. So it's pretty much just a stealth kind of ability. It's not really good to do any damage, but Null Star did do a little bit of damage to enemies because the particles fly and hit enemies, and they also hit containers and stash to open them and get more loot. Now, what happened on a recent rework is that Null Star's augment Neutron Star now does heat damage, and it can apply 240 heat per particle that it launches. So it became really good. It became so good, in fact, that they had to nerf it. They had to tone down the damage because the increase in usage of that ability went up like 64 times what it was supposed to. Now, in Limbo, the ability is still very good. You can stay in Rift, and because you're always generating more energy to yourself, you can just spam Neutron Star as much as you can. You activate it, and when you deactivate it or activate it again, it shoots out the particles, and the particles do damage. Now, as I said before, they nerfed it in order to, not being so used as it was, but they forgot about Archon Vitality. And Archon Vitality, which is, a pain in the ass to get, and it takes a lot of endo to build up to max. It was actually the last Archon mod that I did build up to max, because it just takes so much endo. But if you can get it up to that high, it does twice the damage of any heat ability, and heat ability including the ones in the augments. So yeah, you can take Limbo in animation and just spam the neutral star and just destroy everything around it. It was the first time in, I think, forever that Limbo reached the hundreds of kills per play, even competing with other players that are taking DPS characters with it. The great advantage of the neutral star and heat damage per se is that it can melt armors, but it also melts flesh. So you'll melt in the armors of the Grineers, you melt in the flesh of Infested and Corpus as long as they lose their shields. So you can do this in any mission, anytime, if you're a main Limbo like I am. So you can now actually help the team doing damage instead of just, doing some ground. Speaking of crowd control, Cataclysm at long range is still good, for putting enemies in stasis, and the blast does give it a little damage. There's also the Rift Surge. Now, Rift Surge does allow you to do a little bit more damage with his augment Rift Torrent. The problem with this ability, and I've said this in a couple of videos before, is that enemies can be affected either in the rift or outside, and if they're outside the rift, you cannot put them in stasis. It says you can use banish while you're in the rift. It creates a complication there, so using Rift Surge or Rift Torrent is really just an option. I mean, you are welcome to try if you want to, especially because if your weapon gets 30% more damage, but the ability itself is good enough to do that. So basically what I did is I removed Banish, which is, like I said, it's completely useless now in Limbo because you can't do both. You can cast it in Rift Plane or be in Rift and cast it and cast it again, and replace with Null Star, where the damage to particles and the damage each particle is increased by Strength Mod, but the amount of particles that you can have around you is increased by duration, which is really good because Limbo uses stasis a lot. So I usually have it with a lot of duration. So you have more particles and release more particles with more strength and do more damage. So it's really cool. I had a lot of fun with Limbo finally being able to be a mass DPS, and I want to share this build with you. I have to caution you though, this is not a build that is, perfect or meta for Steel Path. The level of the enemies is really high. I mean, you can keep spamming the Nova Star until you kill them, but I would think, from the experience that I have, that it's better if you take it as a squad. You can do a lot of CC, you know, with stasis and the cataclysm, just holding enemies in, melting their armor, and then the entire squad just does the entire DPS. For you to go solo, I'm not saying it's impossible or you can't do it, but it's not as fun. You know, you will have to struggle a little bit to get Limbo to do those high damages. Here you probably have to really have to have Rift Torrents, but I've tried it, and you know, it can be done, but it depends on the enemy. Grenadiers is easier, and Infested Corpus never again. But it also depends on the conditions, and especially the Eximus units, which are a pain in the ass because they pass through everything, and there's a lot of them in Steel Path. So if you want to use this build on Steel Path, use it with a squad and not in solo mode.
That's it. You opened the relic.
The build is at the end. If you find this video helpful, if you like it, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below of other abilities that you have used in other Warframes and how they work with you, so maybe I can do a video on them. And as always, have a great game, guys.
Excellent work, Tenno.